We're smooth. 98.1 FM is gone 29 minutes before we hit the 7 o'clock mark, but not before we get business out of the way for a Tuesday, 14th of November. And so this morning, it will be strictly talking issues, summits that related to money issues on the continent. So stay tuned and you will know where we need to follow the money, eyes on the money, even as the year is coming to an end. But this morning, well, I just want to inform you, it will not be the regular voice you hear, but I've got a special guest who would do this for us this morning. Because as I speak, Rotus is heading to the airport as we speak with his destination being Lomé, that's Togo, for the 2023 Africa Financial Industry Summit, AFIS. And in its place, we've had to drag someone away from a birthday cake and all of the birthday spas this early to get us to do this. So we want to say thank you to you. And first, happy birthday to MOSPE ARUBAYI. Happy birthday to you and good morning. Welcome to Business Express. You have to unmute.
Good morning and thanks for the wishes.
So let's go now. But they say don't ask a woman her age, so you're not willing to tell us. So let's move on. I wouldn't ask. So MOSPE, this summit in Lomé, Togo, is bringing financial industry professionals, key players from around the world. What's the main financial industry topic for Africa right now? Is it exchange rates or the debt or fiscal responsibility?
I think the main discourse at the summit will be debt sustainability rather than exchange rates. This is because exchange rates, not just in Africa, but for emerging markets in other continents, will take a beating, no thanks to the high yield environment that has seen foreign flows return to advanced economies. However, with debt in the African region, the numbers have deteriorated significantly over the past decade. According to the IMF, the debt to GDP ratio has doubled. Same thing with the interest payment to revenue ratio, and some African countries actually pay 4 times what the ratio is in advanced economies. So I believe the discourse will be more around how to return many African countries to a more sustainable fiscal path rather than exchange rates.
So that said, in itself, Nigeria would not be missing in that room and in the summit. And Nigeria's finance minister Wale Adu is expected to be there. And that brings us to what would you say would be his main focus or job would be at that summit?
I think his main job at that summit is public relations. Nigeria has been in both local and international financial media for the wrong reasons for an extended period of time now. And this has created a lot of uncertainty around the investment climate of the country. So the summit will be an opportunity for the minister to resell Nigeria as a top destination for investment. So I think his main focus will be about public relations and trying to attract new interest to Nigeria's investment environment.
And I'll get back to you shortly, but I like the listener who they like to be known as the client because business client. So I like them to know they can be part of this conversation we're having to clear up with MOSPE ARUBAYI this morning on 0809-444-0981 as Nigeria heads to the summit. What are those gains for Nigeria you see us getting out of it? So let's expect the calls to come in. We're expecting the reactions. But you talked about Nigeria being in it for the wrong reasons and how we can get, and you also mentioned debt sustainability. Do you see Nigeria being able to sustain its debt profile right now and incurring more from this situation?
Honestly, I don't think we're in a very bad spot, but it could get worse if the right decisions are not made as quickly as possible. We know we have an issue in the South region, the oil producing region, which we need to attend to ensure that our main source of revenue is not affected once we have pipeline vandalism and all. So we also need to address the issue of subsidies, which as far as I'm concerned, they're wasteful, right? And it's not an effective use of the country's resources. So right now, I don't think we're in a very bad spot. But if the right decisions are not made as quickly as possible, we could find ourselves in a very unpleasant situation.
So that leads me to the question. People with deep pockets, organizations with deep pockets are coming to a summit like this. And so for anyone, you as a financial expert advising people, they're on the verge of getting to sign deals with Nigeria, what do you think they'll be looking out for?
I think they'll be looking out for political will, because honestly, Nigeria does not actually lack policies, but our main challenge has always been policy somersault. From the FX reforms to fiscal reforms, especially with respect to consumption subsidies in the energy sector. So these reforms exist, but the government often reneges on the implementation. So I believe intending investors would like to see the government's disposition to pushing through with structural reforms before committing their monies to Nigeria.
Now, because you mentioned reforms, Nigeria's power sector has been undergoing a series of reforms. It's still like it's unending. It's just a labyrinth, just keep going on and on. And so, Nigeria's power minister has said, look, the president is not in the mood to even remove electricity subsidies. So do you see this as being able to attract, let's say, power investors are in this summit? Do you see they'll be willing to commit?
With power sector subsidies in place, the chances of actually attracting the much needed investment, private sector investment is quite slim, because private funds and subsidies are unlike poles, they don't attract. So by retaining the subsidies, I believe the government is just trying to make up for the lack of private investment in the sector. But subsidies are not as efficient as private investment. So the focus, I believe, should be more on making the business environment attractive for the private sector to be willing to risk their money rather than just keeping the subsidies in place. A better approach would be either actually to incentivize those investors in that sector rather than just keeping the subsidies in the power sector in place.
Now, just help us look at this. See where we've been. We've been at major summits, financial summits. In the last 1 week or two, from one, just open the door, you drift into the room, it's another summit ongoing already. From Saudi Arabia, then there was one in Morocco. And so we never know what will be the end. So is it just one too much, or we should just define which of the summits we're heading to and go there and accomplish a purpose and come back?
I mean, building trust requires a lot of work. And considering Nigeria's history with respect to their foreign investors and policy somersaults, the policymakers will actually need to do a lot of work. They should be showing up at every summit possible to be able to sell their ideas and how they intend to turn around the economy. So I don't have a problem with them showing up in every summit. I just hope that while they're committing to reforms at those summits, trying to get the investors' interest back in the market, they should actually push through with those reforms the reforms that they will be selling to these investors. Because that's what, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what those investors want to see right now. We've gone to a lot of summits, but we don't have foreign flows coming in just yet. And that is because it's not about what the Nigerian policymakers say anymore. They've said a lot before and didn't push through with it. So it's not about what they say now, it's about what they do. And that's what foreign investors want to see.
And that takes me back to Saudi. You know, the Saudi summit just ended now, and we've been told that there's a commitment to refineries and some other. I mean, what was the magic wand?
Well, I will just take it for now. I'll take it as a commitment. But the fact that we have a new government, that is one thing to look out for. With a new government, there's usually hope that things will be done differently. But doing things differently is what will be the icing on the cake. So right now it's a commitment, but I'm sure if for any reason most of the ideas we sold to the Saudis. If we don't push through with some of those ideas, then those commitments may just remain commitments. So I mean, for now, they're commitments, and to actually actualize them, we actually need to push through with whatever ideas that we sold to them in Saudi.
So this brings me to AFIS, the summit that we'll be holding in Lomé. Now, it's one of the key points of the summit will be borrowing cost and Africa risk premium. Do you see the risk premium applied to Africa as being fair?
I wouldn't say it's fair, and I would also not say it's not. That's because if you do not write your story well, you give any other person the liberty to write whatever it is they feel about you. So most African countries do not write the story well. Say, for instance, when foreign institutions are like estimating African countries' risk premium, aside the traditional factors that they look at, they also look at structural factors. Things like financial development. Many African financial markets are not liquid, right? And investors will definitely charge liquidity premium for relatively less liquid markets. There's also a lack of budget and fiscal transparency in many African countries. And with a lack of transparency, there's a lot of information asymmetry. Many of these investors are not kept in the loop of projects and implementation of this project, and there's a lot of information asymmetry, and this fuels high levels of risk and uncertainty as it pertains to the African market. There's also a large informal sector, which most African countries don't capture. In some countries, is up to about 70%. And if there is no robust, accurate, and consistent data to capture this informal sector, there's no data that foreign investors are working with as well, and they may as well charge a premium for the unknown unknowns. And also, we also have an issue of weak institutions. So these factors are often overlooked by African policymakers, but they go a long way in determining the risk premium that foreign investors attach to the African market. That's why I wouldn't say it's fair, and I wouldn't say it's not, because we're not giving them the information they need to actually do a fair assessment for a risk premium.
So your tray is almost clear for business this morning. So we just got two more issues to pick with you in about a minute, and then we're done.
Sure.
So I like us to look at this one quickly. How much competition for capital is there in Africa, and which nations look the most attractive in your view? So basically, African nations look the most attractive for bringing in foreign direct investment. Link this up to what kind of 2024 are you expecting for Nigeria's business environment?
I think South Africa will be in a good position. I read something from the IMF saying that South Africa could be the fastest growing, could be the largest economy rather, in 2024. So that, I mean, those are the kind of highlights that foreign investors look at in making decisions about where to put their monies. So South Africa will be a top contender for FDI in 2024. For Nigeria, the game changer would actually be clarity on the FX market. We saw what happened with the Naira appreciation sometime last week when there was clearing of backlog of the FX backlog for international banks. We saw how the Naira appreciated pretty quickly. But then it has fallen again. So I feel for Nigeria, the attracting investment into Nigeria in 2024 the FX market and clarity on the FX market will go a long way in making us a top destination for investment next year.
Thank you very much. See how you just cleared up the tray. Just birthday energy. But let's get back to messages. They've been listening now. So let's get into some of messages now. I've got Tayo here with a message saying, Rotus, the journeyman, I wish you safe travels. But it goes down now. Nigeria will manage to save money and raise funds only to spend it on presidential boat and legislators' vehicles. More so, thank God well, Smooth FM aren't participating in the nationwide strike. Otherwise, where would we get today's broadcast? Then it goes on. Best wishes to MOSPE. Please send the cake because he knows that I don't want to ask. Don't come through me to ask directly, but that's it anyway. I've got another one here from Babatunde Alao saying MOSPE showing up at summit is good, but what is more important is what happens in your home country. She's alluded to that too, reforms and all that. Then another thing is that the gains from subsidies should be made open to the public. At least let's know the reason for the intense suffering we experienced due to subsidy removal. Babatunde Alao. Then I will throw in a message in here from Gilbert Musa from Festa. Yeah, that's it. It says, beyond seeking foreign investment to Nigeria, let us ask ourselves the resultant effect of all these road shows. Has it been worth the energy since 1985, when then General Babangida declared an economy emergency in October 1985? What impact has this trend brought to the economy? We need to address legacy infrastructure like security, energy, good roads, network, first amongst other basic things. There you have it. We're done.
Well, I'd like to say that I mean, we all know what it is. It's not just about showing up at summits. It's about the homework you do at home as well. No one is going to make your business environment attractive for you. You have to do the work yourself. And I think I alluded to that already. Fiscal transparency is also an issue with respect to the yacht and all. We took delivery of a yacht that is still was still in the supplementary budget yet to be approved. Lack of transparency. So a lot of responsibility actually rests with policymakers to do their homework in addition to selling the country at summits.
There we have it. We say thank you to the birthday girl, MOSPE ARUBAYI, financial specialist intact, for taking your time away to give us all of this info. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap on Business Express on Smooth 98.1 FM. Thanks to everyone who sent in a message and to those